All right, we need the agony over with. Just tell us which house is the winning house.
After much deliberation, we're gonna pick the
two-story house.
The most famous face in real estate didn't just step back, he automatically vanished. As death hoaxes exploded and a billion-dollar empire began to wobble, Drew Scott found himself trapped in a reality he couldn't renovate. What exactly happened when HGTV pulled the plug? The truth is far deeper than we think. While we all fell in love with Drew Scott's charm and expert advice, something behind the scenes changed, leaving fans wondering where the classic property brother actually went. Why HGTV isn't the same. Back in the mid-2010s, you couldn't turn on the television without seeing Drew Scott looking sharp in a suit. Along with his twin brother Jonathan, they both dominated HGT5, yet their path to the top was anything but easy. The brothers actually started this venture as a desperate way to pay off mounting acting debts they had accumulated when they were only 18 years old. While most teenagers were focusing on exams, the Scotts found a 7-bedroom eyesore near the University of Calgary. They managed to use a clever legal loophole called a vendor take-back mortgage to secure the property, walking away with the keys for a down payment of just $250. They spent their college nights scrubbing floors and painting walls, eventually flipping that house for a $50,000 profit. This early success set the stage for a media empire that would eventually take over the cable world. At their peak, the duo was on the air for nearly 50 hours every single week. They gained popularity not only because they were real estate gurus, but also because they were the faces of the American dream home. They had their faces everywhere you could possibly think of, and it seemed like their reign would never end. Fast forward between 2024 and 2025, things started to change and their fans were the first to notice a gap in their schedule. Suddenly, the flagship shows that used to run on a loop were replaced by new faces. This created a stream of rumors across social media that the brothers had been cancelled or that they had walked away from the network. People were obviously worried because it felt like an era was ending, and the silence from the network only made the speculation fly. However, what nobody knew was that the truth was much more interesting than they had thought. Through Scott Brothers Entertainment, Drew stepped into the role of a true business mogul. He started producing shows for other celebrities and focused on building an entire media house in his name. Instead of waiting for networks to give him a job, Drew became the one creating the jobs. This meant that he had to spend less time in front of the cameras and more time behind the scenes. During this time period, times were changing, and so was TV. Drew was amongst the few people who realized that the future was not in traditional cable channels. So, he led the charge in moving their content over to Maximum. This digital-first strategy meant they were not as visible to the casual channel flipper, which fueled those disappearance rumors even more. While it looked like he was fading away, he was actually securing a much bigger piece of the streaming pie. There was also another valid reason for this change. For years, Drew and his twin brother, Jonathan, had been renovating 40 houses annually. As we all know, this schedule can be very tiring and time-consuming for anyone, let alone someone trying to maintain a personal life. Eventually, Drew admitted that the pace they were moving at was nearly breaking them and decided that he did not want to be a traveling salesman for the rest of his life. He was more interested in quality as opposed to quantity. This decision birthed their newest project in late 2025 and early 2026 called Don't Hate Your House. It marked a total change in his philosophy because instead of the regular quick fix and the big reveal, he started focusing on how people can actually live better in the spaces they already own. It was a more mature, grounded version of the Drew Scott everyone once knew, because he was finally building a career that allowed him to stay home and be flexible. But while the brothers were busy reinventing their entire brand to suit their new lives, a darker shadow was starting to fall over their family. Strange headlines were popping up and many fans began to fear the worst. What exactly happened? The alleged health crisis. In 2025, there were a viral somber in memoriam posts or clickbait ads that featured a black and white photo of Drew Scott. These news reports claimed he was battling a mystery illness that had forced him into an early retirement. Some even went as far as to suggest he has even passed away. Fortunately, these posts turned out to be fake. The reason these rumors felt so believable was that there actually was a medical crisis in the Scott family. While Drew might not have been battling any illnesses, his older brother, J.D. Scott, had been through a terrifying health journey involving mercury poisoning and a severe autoimmune issue, which left him weak and frequently in the hospital. And so because these brothers share such similar physical features, gossip blogs began stealing photos of a frail JD in his hospital bed and labeled them as Drew. This created a false narrative of a mystery illness that Drew was supposedly hiding from his fans. People saw the photos and assumed the worst without checking the facts. But then, while the world thought he was actually sick, Drew was focusing on his health in a whole new way. In 2025, he decided to lean back into his college roots in kinesiology and started a very intense fitness and marathon training program. When someone trains that hard, their face can look thinner and their body changes. For a celebrity who is always under the lens, this natural weight loss was assumed to be a sign of a hidden disease. However, in reality, he was likely in the best shape of his life. From another angle, living through all the gossip and rumors took a massive toll on his mental health. He later spoke out about the anxiety of maintaining a perfect image while his family was under attack. He felt the pressure to prove he was okay while also worrying about his older brother's recovery. And again, the digital algorithms did not help either. They kept pushing those out-of-context hospital photos to the top of everyone's social media feeds, making the lies feel more like the truth. Eventually, Drew decided he had seen enough. He began posting direct social media check-ins to talk to his fans. These were not the typical videos he was used to, but were simple moments from his home gym he would post to address the rumors head-on. Drew explained that he was healthy and that his absence from certain projects was simply a choice to spend more time with his growing family. He perhaps wanted to break the cycle of fake news before it did any more damage to his reputation. While he managed to calm the panic regarding his health, another dark cloud that was about to put his professional life through a public test was already gathering on the horizon. Lawsuits and shoddy work. For years, the twin brothers had been the gold standard of home renovation, but a massive $5 million shadow began to loom over their reputation, and it all started in Las Vegas with a couple named Mindy and Paul King. This couple had appeared on the show expecting a dream home but claimed they were left with a nightmare. According to their legal filings, the renovation was a disaster filled with over 90 different problems. These problems included serious issues like exposed electrical wires, code violations, and even sewage sludge leaking behind the kitchen cabinets. For the couple, what they saw on screen did not match the home they actually had to live in. They felt like they had been tricked into paying nearly $200,000 for a house that was uninhabitable. What made this case so confusing for the public was the legalities of it all. Even though Drew and Jonathan were the stars of the show, they were not actually the ones named in the lawsuit. The couple had sued the production company, Cineflix, and the local contractors who did the physical labor. Drew and Jonathan argued that they were simply the talent and face of the show and were not responsible for anything that had to do with construction. This created a huge debate among fans, as many wondered how the brothers could put their faces on a project but then walk away when things went wrong. This situation exposed a secret that many people in the industry already knew about: incredibly tight deadlines. Sometimes a house that should take 6 months to finish could be squeezed into just 6 weeks to meet a filming schedule. To make everything look perfect for the cameras, crews might use quick fixes that look great on a high-definition screen but fail after a few months of real use. This reality of reality TV has led to complaints across many different networks, but because Drew is at the top of the mountain, he became the primary target for criticism. The brand took another hit as the broader real estate world faced its own scandals. Around 2025, several HGTV adjacent firms were accused of using predatory contracts called homeowner benefit agreements. These deals often trapped homeowners in long-term contracts that were nearly impossible to break. While Drew and his brother were not directly involved in these specific scams, the negative headlines about real estate celebrities made people more skeptical than ever. Fans started to look at every deal and every partnership with a much more critical eye, fearing they might be the next ones to get burned. Through all of this, Drew and Jonathan have stood their ground. They insist that they have always prioritized quality and that they have renovated hundreds of homes with happy endings. They believe that being famous makes them an easy target for people who are looking for a massive celebrity payout. The brothers also claim that they tried to fix the issues for the Kings, but were denied entry to the house. Regardless of who was right, the legal battle left a mark on their legacy that was hard to scrub away. With lawyers handling the drama in Las Vegas, Drew Scott was focusing on building a much more significant project. What exactly could that be? Fatherhood. While the world was busy arguing over construction permits and reality TV secrets, Drew was quietly navigating the most difficult part of his life, which was starting a family. For years, Drew and his wife, Linda Fan, were the picture of a perfect couple, but behind their smiles was a quiet struggle that many people never saw. They spent 2 long years trying to conceive before eventually turning to IVF to make their dream a reality. This was a vulnerable side of a man usually known for his confidence and business deals. So, by sharing their fertility journey, they became a beacon of hope for thousands of other families facing the same uphill battle. After 2 years of IVF, in August 2021, the couple finally received great news. The arrival of their son, Parker, in May 2022, followed by their daughter, Piper Ray, in May 2024, changed everything for one of the property brothers. The man who used to live on airplanes and construction sites suddenly found a new set of priorities. Realistically, you can't film 40 houses a year when you have a toddler and a newborn at home. And this is the real reason Drew seemed to take a step back from his old HGTV schedule. It wasn't a career decline, but a conscious effort to be an active, present father. This personal decision led Drew and Linda to launch the At Home podcast in order to create content that felt much more personal and close to home. Instead of focusing on other people's renovations, they invited the world into their own lives. This allowed Drew to stay relevant without the grueling travel schedule that had previously pushed him toward burnout. However, even as he opened his doors, he remained a very protective father. Unlike many celebrities who use their children for clicks, Drew and Linda have been famously careful. They often share photos that don't show their children's faces, a face-free policy that sets a firm boundary between their public brand and their private sanctuary. By 2026, the Scott family dynamic has settled into a beautiful rhythm in Los Angeles. They turned their honeymoon house into a permanent sanctuary designed specifically for their needs. This period also marked a major shift in how the public views the brothers as a duo. For the first time, Drew is carving out an identity that is separate from Jonathan. While Jonathan is busy with his own high-profile life and his relationship with Zooey Deschanel, Drew has leaned fully into the family man role. They are no longer just the twins who fix houses, they are two different men with two very different lives. But even in their happiest moments, the family has recently been rocked by a heartbreaking loss that Drew says has changed him forever. The loss of Habu. Earlier in February 2026, Drew posted a deeply emotional tribute to his mother-in-law, whom the family affectionately called Habu. Habu was not just a relative, she was the heartbeat of their household and a constant source of joy for their children, and losing her felt like a tragedy. It was a moment that forced Drew to stop everything and look at what really mattered in his life. He opened up about a feeling many people know all too well, which is the helplessness of realizing that, after a lifetime of fixing houses and solving million-dollar problems, there was nothing he could do to mend his wife's broken heart. Drew also talked about the difficulty of managing a global business empire while trying to be the emotional anchor for Linda and their two kids. He even shared sweet memories of him and Habu, showing a side of his life that the world rarely sees. During these dark weeks, the Scott family bond was tighter than ever. Jonathan and his partner, Zooey Deschanel, stepped up in a big way to help. They handled the meetings for the business so Drew and Linda could focus on grieving and honoring Habu's memory. It showed the world that the Property Brothers is not just a brand name, it is a real family that shows up when things get hard. From the depths of personal loss, Drew is now looking toward a future that looks nothing like the one he started with back in 2011. The 2026 Empire. While the early days were all about hustle and getting on camera, the 2026 version of Drew is operating on a completely different level. His business brand, Scott Living, has officially crossed the $1 billion mark. It started with simple furniture, yet it has grown into a massive empire that covers everything from high-end home tech to custom fabrics. He is no longer looking for his next big break because he has already built a legacy of his own. This new status has allowed him to change the way he does television. His latest project, Property Brothers, Under Pressure, is not your regular renovation show. Instead of the polished and perfect transformations we saw for years, this 2026 series focuses on the grit and the high-stakes stress of construction. It reveals the mistakes, the budget collapses, and the real pressure that comes with building at a high level. Drew is showing the world that his life is not a scripted fairy tale. He wants to give fans a look at the actual reality of being a mogul in a tough industry. Also, this mission has taken a very beautiful turn because Drew Scott has become a major voice in the eco-home movement. He is not only building houses, he is investing in healthy home technology companies. These businesses focus on things like air purification and sustainable materials that keep families safe. He believes that a home should do more than look pretty. It should actually make your life better and healthier. And this whole agenda has turned him into a respected figure in the tech world, moving his reputation far beyond the borders of HGTV. When he is not in a boardroom, Drew has found a surprising way to express himself. He has surprisingly taken a serious interest in music. What started as a hobby has turned into a genuine creative outlet. He has released several songs that show a more artistic and soulful side of his personality. It is an unexpected move that has kept his audience on their toes. It proves that he is also very open to trying something new, even if it does not fit the handyman image the world gave him years ago. With his solo success, the most common question fans ask is whether he and Jonathan are splitting up. In 2026, the brothers addressed these rumors by announcing a formal pact. They confirmed they are still a team, though they are now working on their own terms. They no longer feel the need to be joined at the hip for every single project. This maturity has allowed their relationship to grow. They are supporting each other's individual dreams while keeping the family business stronger than ever. Well, ultimately, the final verdict on Drew Scott is that he has not disappeared or been replaced. He has simply ascended to a level of wealth and family stability where he no longer has to be on your TV screen every single day to be relevant. He has traded the constant spotlight for a life of meaning and legacy. Drew Scott's journey from a starving actor to a billion-dollar mogul is proof that the best renovations happen within. What do you think of Drew's new chapter? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more content like this, tap on the next video on your screen. Inside Drew Scott's quiet power move. But to really understand what happened to Drew Scott, you have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Fame on shows like Property Brothers can freeze a person in time. For years, audiences saw him as the sharply dressed realtor with the reassuring smile, guiding families through drywall dust and design dilemmas. What many didn't see was the quiet transformation happening behind the scenes. While viewers were focused on granite countertops and open concept kitchens, Drew was studying markets, analyzing consumer behavior, and laying the groundwork for something much larger than episodic television. By 2026, he is no longer just a TV personality, he's a strategist. The empire he built didn't expand by accident. It grew because he understood that media exposure is temporary, but ownership is forever. Instead of chasing more screen time, he invested in infrastructure. Instead of relying solely on network contracts, he diversified into technology, manufacturing partnerships, and sustainable development. That shift is what separates a celebrity from a mogul. And then there's his evolution as a husband and father. Drew has been open about how becoming a parent fundamentally reshaped his priorities. Long filming schedules and constant travel slowly gave way to intentional balance. He has spoken about wanting to build a world his children can thrive in, not just financially, but environmentally and emotionally. That philosophy feeds directly into his eco-home initiatives. For him, sustainability is no longer a trend, it's a responsibility. Every investment in air quality systems or renewable materials is a reflection of the kind of future he wants to help construct. The music chapter, too, says more than people initially realized. It's not about chasing a second career for headlines, it's about creative fulfillment. After years of operating inside the structured format of renovation television, songwriting gives him something raw and personal. It reminds audiences that behind the business deals and boardrooms is someone who still values expression. That vulnerability makes his brand feel human rather than corporate. As for the rumors about stepping back from television altogether, the truth is much simpler than conspiracy theories suggest. Drew didn't disappear. He recalibrated. There's a difference. The industry changes fast, and audiences change even faster. By choosing quality over quantity, he ensured that when he does appear on screen, it means something. Property Brothers, Under Pressure, reflects that shift. It strips away perfection and shows risk. It shows doubt. It shows the uncomfortable side of growth, something Drew himself has clearly experienced on his path from actor to entrepreneur. So what really happened to Drew Scott? He outgrew the box people put him in. He moved from being the face of a franchise to being the architect of an ecosystem. He embraced family life, sustainability, creative exploration, and long-term strategy, all while keeping the bond with Jonathan intact. In a world obsessed with constant visibility, Drew chose evolution over exposure. And sometimes, the most powerful move isn't staying in the spotlight. It's building something so solid that you don't need it anymore.